What's going on today, Internet? Selfish here with Retrospect, and today we're going to take a look at the X39 Pro and see if this budget handheld can hold its own in a professional way. Let's take a look. This is going to be our typical Powkiddy unboxing experience. The only place you're going to see on Powkiddy on the box is on this little tag right here. Other than that, you're not going to see it because it is set up for resale to other companies. It drives me nuts that they do that. Granted, who cares? It's just a fun box. On the outside of the box here, we do have some of the interface stuff. We will go over that anyways, so not really that important. It is kind of nice, though, that this one actually kind of tells you what device is in it, so we know this isn't a generic box. It does say it has a 4.5-inch screen. The Powkiddy X39 initially had a 4.3-inch screen, so I'm not sure if this is a misprint or if they actually fixed the screen to make it better, because it does have an upped resolution, which is on the website. The screen size is questionable, but the resolution changes have been updated, which would make sense because there is a lot of issues with stretching with some of the emulation on the previous models. Not to say this one's going to be perfect, but it's going to be better, hopefully, because this one was built by professionals. Let's take a look. This is your typical experience again. So you have your device, your word paper here. Doesn't tell you a whole lot that you probably don't already know, but if you are new to these devices, this is nice to know how to hook up your HDMI and things like that. We are going to test the HDMI because rumor has it the HDMI doesn't work on this. So we'll give it a shot. We'll just hook it up to this little monitor over here just to see if it even turns on. And you do have a Type-C cable. Yay. Okay, let's get rid of all that stuff. And we have our... Oh, wrong way. And we have our X39 Pro. This is actually a very comfortable device, oddly enough. And it is good for certain systems because we do have the single joystick. So you are actually pretty well off as far as some of the systems go. But we will go over that here in just a minute. First, we'll go over the I/O. We'll start at the top like we always do. This one has a lot of I/O on it, so it's kind of surprising. And in the previous model on another project that I worked on, the original version of this, just the X39, none of the stuff worked. So we're going to see if some of this works here on the X39 Pro. We have inline shoulder buttons on this, but they actually feel really good. The clicks on these are better than most Powkiddy devices have been that I've worked with here in the past. We do have our volume buttons right here. We do have a 355 hole right here. We do have an HDMI out, which we will check and see if that works because I know a lot of people with the original X39 couldn't get that to work. And then we also have Type-C hole right here. This is for charging. All right, we'll go over to the left side. Nothing. On the right side, nothing. Like I said, there is a lot of I/O on this, but we'll get to it. On the back here, we just have a back. Now, one thing that's cool about this device, and it's hard to see on here, but there's a great finish on this, which makes it really comfortable to touch. It's kind of a soft feel to it. I'm not sure why the grips are here because I don't know how much they'll help, but I mean, it is kind of nice. It's a little bit more aesthetic than just having a flat back on here. All right, we'll get to the bottom down here. On the bottom down here, we do have two USB-A holes, and these here are for running external controllers. Again, those didn't work on the original when I tested it, so we'll see if the more professional version of this they work on. We do have a reset button, something I think that a lot of handsets should come with. It doesn't hurt to reset these things, and for some reason manufacturers don't put reset buttons on them. Or if they do put a reset button on it, it's a physical button, which makes people hit reset all the time. Something like this that's kind of more of a traditional, you poke a pin in it, might be a better option. We'll find out as we use this over time. We do have a micro SD hole, and this comes with a 64 gig CP micro SD. This looks like the Sea-Doo logo for jet skis. I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually written out like the jet ski logo. All right, here on the front, we do have our 4.3 or 4.5 inch screen. We do have an analog stick. This is non-clicky, but it is an analog stick. It's a switch style without the click. We have our D-pad, which is, decent for the cost of this device. We do have our XYAB. Now, one thing they did change on this, they have a little bit more height to them than they used to. They used to sink underneath the bezel, and now they don't. So you don't have to worry about getting stuck or anything like that. Still pretty soft, so it's pretty easy to hit them. This D-pad is a little weird. I don't know. I kind of like it, but we'll get back to that again. Now that I've already gone to it twice, we do have our menu, select, and start buttons right here. And like I said, volume is on the top, and this one is in the right direction for you people in the Western world. We do have our plus to the right and minus to the left, which is typically what we're used to. All right, let's kick her on. Well, this is starting up. We'll toss up the specs on the screen. I'll also go over what I think is different between this and the X39, though this, again, is a little washy. This is listed as having a 4.5-inch IPS display at 854 by 480 resolution. The original was a 4.3 at 480 by 272, so you get a hard time really scaling things when you were trying to play games. Now, the other one did have an option in the software where you could change the scaling in each of the different emulators. I believe that they took that out of this, so hopefully that is fixed by having a higher resolution screen. They do come with the ATM7051 Quad processor, a pretty common processor in children's tablets. some other devices, but mainly children's tablets. We have seen it in a few handhelds the last couple of years, but it's more of a common thing in children's tablets. This does have LPDDR2 128 megabytes of RAM. So real power horse we got here. This does have a 3000 milliamp battery, which is a upgrade from the 2500 that was on the previous device. Obviously, it does have USB charging. We went over the charge hole on this thing already, and that's about it, other than the HDMI out that's on here. So let's take a look. Try playing a couple games on here before I loaded it up, just to make sure that everything was working on here. So as far as systems go, we have our typical top 10, and we have our Famicom all the way up to PS. So that does include Game Boy Advance on this. I've noticed lately some of these have been excluding Game Boy Advance for some reason, but we do have CPS all in one folder versus a 1, 2, and 3. Which is kind of nice because otherwise that just stat pads how many systems are on here. We got Super Famicom, Mega Drive, Final Bird Alpha, Final Bird Neo, GB, GBC, like I'm not going in order, PlayStation, and obviously Super Famicom. Scaling might be weird for Super Famicom. We'll find out that as we go. So let's take a couple looks at a couple of games here. Also, one thing I do want to point out here while we're looking for games is they did a decent job of scraping box art. There's very few missed ones in here. Every once in a while you see one that says game. I don't know if you saw that. We'll go back to it. It sucks. Oh, never mind. I guess I skipped every screen on here. I went all the way to the bottom. There's 123 screens. But yeah, so there you get one that'll have the box art missing, but very few have the box art missing, which is kind of nice. Or, you know, probably about 10% are missing. So not too bad. Typical Famicom list. One thing I am noticing though, and let's see what system I can show you this in. Maybe this one? No, probably it's Mega Drive. I think it's the easiest one to see it. This restarts. So halfway through, so when they're talking about the thousands of games that come on this, I will put the number up on the screen because I can't remember. I find it kind of odd. So we have 91 pages, right? So we're going through the A's here. We actually start back over somewhere here, and so this is the second time we're seeing this letter scheme on here. So now we have Sonic. So they added some games that weren't at the beginning, and so that system you can kind of see it in. PlayStation doesn't have a lot of games. It's only got 10 pages, which actually is pretty good for a system like this, and all the games on here probably work just fine. This one does have the least amount of box art, which is kind of disappointing, but it is what it is. All right, let's get some gameplay going here. Because this is likely going to be a GBA device, we'll take a look at a little GBA. It is stretched a little bit though, and you can tell, but it's not terrible. One thing you do have to remember too, and we talk about this probably not enough when we talk about upscaling. Upscaling is almost scaling on some of these devices, so this one doesn't give you the ability to upscale, right? But you have to remember the screen was, the screen was not this big on our Game Boy Advance. So if you get the screen to the right size, it's not really upscaling, because you're scaling it to the proper size screen that you're now using. In some cases. It's not always the case, but in a lot of cases, you're actually not really making it look that much better than it originally did. You're just making it look like it originally did, if that tracks. I don't know. If I really explained that wrong, somebody let me know down on the bottom. I'm sure somebody will correct me. Because there is I don't know, there's a little bit more to image quality than that, but that's just the layman's terms for the average schmo trying to figure this out. One thing I did notice when I did this is the original device and the X39, I was able to change the scaling options while we're talking about this. Not an option anymore. They've taken this out of the menu. One thing that is really convenient about this, by the way, the menu button is literally the menu button. It brings you into your save and load states. You don't have to do a combination and stand on your head in order to do that. You know, some of them you have to hold start select L2 and hit the down arrow. You don't have to do any of that crap here. So that part's nice, but you don't have the option anymore to get this back to the original screen scaling, because then when you upscale, then you see a difference. So everything you're going to play on here is going to be stretched in some form. None of these systems are really made for the screen, but it is what it is. You know, you just, you kind of deal with it, you go forward. So these are a few games I tested. Aladdin looks pretty good on here for Game Boy Color. One thing I did notice though is I'm pretty sure there's music in the back. Oh, now it just turned on. What the hell? I'm pretty sure there's music in the background on this, but never mind. All right, let's go to the next game. So this plays just fine. And, you know, honestly, the stretching isn't terrible on this one, just because of how pixelated these games are to begin with. I'm not seeing a lot of screen tearing, which is kind of what I was expecting to see, to be honest with you. All right, let's try another game out. So here we got a little Metal Slug X going on. I don't know why I'm throwing grenades. Probably because I'm getting used to the controls, but this looks pretty good. Throw my grenades on accident. It wasn't on purpose, I promise. This game is just chaos. I love it. Okay, so Metal Slug works just fine. Let's go to something else. Try a little Neo Geo here. We got drift going. The sound's a little crackly. It's like the bass doesn't hit right. I don't know, maybe the speakers suck for bass. This speaker. Sorry, not plural. With my headphones on, I can't even hear what the guy's saying to me, so hopefully I'm listening when they tell me to turn. Obviously not, because I'm running into walls. So this works great. It looks exactly like it's supposed to. I'm definitely not going to finish this race. Wow, that speaker sounds terrible on this game. Should we do a little PS1? We'll try Pepsi Man out, and then we'll be done. All right, let's try Pepsi Man out real quick. This is going to be every Midwest road, just mass chaos, trying to fix all the potholes from the winter in order to get them fixed right in time for the plows to go right back over them again and screw them all up all over again. Now, trust me, I'm thankful for the plows, but now I just let it into it. How did I fall in a hole? Well, anyways, this seems to work just fine. This is going to be on PlayStation, so we should be pretty solid. Oh, I got crushed. So that's it. That's the X39 Pro. It's pretty decent. It's better than the X39 was, honestly. Even though they're using the same chipset and everything, it seems like they're able to take a little bit more advantage of it. I know they are running different firmware, so they might have just done it in a firmware tweak. Not really sure. Not able to measure the screen because I don't have my tape measure that I would use for this. I would never use a tape measure for construction for this because the screen's just too small. You'll never get it accurate. You need to use one of those ones for sewing, and I don't know where my wife's sewing stuff is right now, so I'm not going to go dig through that, but you know, 0.2 could make a big difference because these are only scaled now. They don't give you the option to actually put them in the original scaling. Now they're all just stretched out. So it really could fix that problem a little bit. I don't recall how bad the other one was. I just remember I didn't like how it stretched everything. And now you don't have an option. So I don't know. I don't know if that's really a pro feature taking that away, but at least taking the option away. A lot of people like to play with that. But anyways, what do you think? What do you think about the X39 Pro? You think this is a good device? I think it's a pretty good device. It's for $40. You could just hand this to somebody and they can play. That's not for the tinker at all, but you can just hand this to somebody and they could play with it, and they could play for hundreds of hours on hundreds of games. There's something to be said about that, and I think they did a pretty decent job with the build quality here. It's a good feeling device. Again, let me know down in the comment section what you think about this. Do you have one? Do you want one? Do you see some value? Any and everything you want to ask or talk about, I don't really care. I'm a pretty open book. But anyways, that's all I got for you today. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe. Share this video with your friends because your mom shares it with her friends, and that's how we get all of our subscribers here. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Bye. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end. If you stuck around this long, you must have got something out of this, or you were sleeping. But either way, if you just woke up, or if you enjoyed the video, hit that subscribe button. It's right there. It helps the channel out. Also, check out one of these other videos. Google thinks you might like something there, and usually they're right. In fact, I think they're always right. And even when they're wrong, I don't know, because they're the ones that tell me what to watch. Anyways, have a good day. I'm out.